A news hour tonight. 3 soldiers dead as troops neutralize 45 terrorists in Katsina. Political thugs attack PDP local government congresses in Oyo. Katsina residents raise concerns over compensation for agro-allied industrial zone. 23 people dead as flash floods ravage Nairobi. Hello and good evening. This is News Hour on Trust TV. I am Chiamaka Nwafo. We'll start off with the issues in Katsina State, where troops of the Nigerian army have lost a captain and 2 soldiers in a fierce gun battle with bandits in Denmuso local government area of the state. According to the State Commissioner for Internal Security, Nasiru Muazu, the troops killed at least 45 bandits, including Alti, the nephew and second in command of notorious bandit leader Adamu Aliru, and another top commander known as Damali. The clash followed a bandit attack on March 6, during which the criminals ran into soldiers from the army's forward operating base in Danali. The battle was intense, but the army successfully neutralized all 45 bandits. Governor Diko Umarada and the state government commended the bravery of the soldiers, extended condolences to the families of the deceased, and vowed to continue pursuing criminals until peace is restored across Katsina State. Our reporter in the state, Abdullah Yamadi, is joining us via phone call to give an update. Good evening, Yamadi. Thank you for joining us on News Hour tonight.
Thank you, Chiamaka.
Yamadi, what more can you tell us about the situation today?
Well, this is a remarkable achievement by the security operatives, particularly the military operatives who achieved this very significant achievement in the fight against terrorists or bandits in Katsina State. I think this is the biggest and, of course, the first in over a decade, where we have military operatives neutralizing over 45 bandits. Indeed, it is a remarkable achievement worth celebrating. But beyond that, there are a series of complaints, repeated complaints on the reoccurring incidences of kidnappings, abduction, cattle wrestling, and other livestock wrestling across Katsina State. And of course, the issue of motorcycles and phone snatchings across the local government that are covered by this community-driven peace initiative. Even this morning, there was an incidence of abducting or kidnapping of 3 people along Sheme Kankara Road, just few meters to Kankara. Hello, can you hear me?
Ed.
Hello?
Go ahead, Yamadi.
Okay, just few meters to Kankara, where 3 people were abducted. Trust TV can reliably confirm that the 3 people, 2 are children, and their driver, they are Jafar, Abubakar, and Muhammad, who is the driver of the vehicle. They were abducted just few meters to Kankara on their way to Katsina from Fatkari local government. So there are a series of incidences of these abductions across the state. What we have not been hearing about since the peace accord is the issue of major attacks that could lead to destructions and loss of lives. So It's a remarkable achievement, of course.
Okay, so let's stay with the abduction you just talked about now. These are children that were abducted. Was this a specific attack or just a random attack? Because as you say, it's just 2 children and their driver. Where were they going to? Where were they coming from? If you have more information on that.
Okay, they went to Ankara village just yesterday, that is Friday, on a mission. On their way back this morning, they were blocked just some few meters to Kankara town and whisked away by a group of bandits. So they are on their way to Katsina, obviously, and of course, some of them are my neighbors here in Katsina.
Oh, okay. Apologies for that incident that happened to your neighbors and their families.
Yeah.
Now, back to the story about the operatives. So far, the people in Damusa local government, how was the atmosphere like during this operation between the military and the bandits?
This is something that Damusa residents have been clamoring for. They have been advocating for a major sweep of some bandit hideout across Damusa local government. And hearing this, people are jubilating, celebrating this remarkable achievement. Of course, in an interview with some of the residents this evening, they were so joyful and hailing the military for this achievement and saying if this could be sustained in a couple of months, these bandits would be wiped out totally, not only in the Musa local government, but across the insecurity bedeviled areas in Katsina State.
All right. So while the operation was going on, did the people around the area, did they flee or they were just confident that nothing would happen to them? Did this situation cause them to flee their homes for safety?
Well, of course, they did not flee. They did not flee their communities. They are still within their communities because it is an operation that concerns the military and, of course, the bandits. And they went directly to their hideouts. They are not living. The bandits are not living within the communities. We have been saying this. The government and other security agencies honestly knows the whereabouts, the hideout of these criminal elements that are terrorizing local communities. So they took the fight to the hideouts of the bandits, and they successfully neutralized the 45 you have just reported.
All right. Thank you so much, Amadi, for the update on the situation in Katsina State.
Thank you most sincerely, Chiamaka.
Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima says the federal government will end insurgency in the northeast with decisive and overwhelming force. This follows recent attacks by Boko Haram insurgents in Borno State that resulted in casualties among security personnel and civilians. In a statement by his media aide, Stanley Nkwocha, the Vice President said the government will not be intimidated by the attacks, which included abductions in Gushe and assaults on military formations. The attacks reportedly targeted locations in Kunduga, Marte, Jakana, and Mainok, where insurgents briefly overran some positions before reinforcements arrived. Shettima said Bola Tinubu has been briefed and has directed the swift mobilization of Nigeria's security architecture. I beg your pardon, President Bola Tinubu. Now, he assured citizens that the perpetrators will face the full wrath of the law and that efforts are ongoing to safely rescue abducted victims. President Tinubu had earlier called Governor Zulum to express sympathy and solidarity over the attacks. During an interfaith breaking of fast with service chiefs on Friday, the president assured the military that Nigeria would prevail over terrorism despite the recent attacks. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu, says his visit will enhance operational needs in the fight against terrorists in the northeast. He made the statement during an operational tour in Maiduguri following the recent attacks in Borno State. Our correspondent in the state, Petrus Kurisi, has more in this report.
The visit of the Chief of Army Staff to Maiduguri comes just 2 days after attacks in Goshe, Konduga, Marti, Jakana, and Mainok. He visited the headquarters of Operation Hatinkai, where he held a 4-hour closed-door meeting with senior officers of the theater.
Do some assessment visits and see how we can enhance their operational output. So that's the reason I brought me. So thank you very much and God bless.
Earlier, the state governor, Babagana Zulum, called on the army chief to redeploy additional troops and logistics to conflict-affected communities to curb persistent Boko Haram attacks. During a commiseration visit to Pulka, where residents of Ngoshe fled following a deadly attack, the governor distributed relief materials, including food items and mattresses, to cushion the impact of the attacks.
Government will double its efforts to ensure that this madness has come to an end. What we need from the Chief of Army Staff is for deployment of more military personnel, more equipment and more technological equipment.
Meanwhile, residents of Maiduguri condemned the recent attacks that left many dead and hundreds abducted. They are calling on the government to intensify efforts to prevent further attacks.
When I
heard the news of the attack in Goza, Marte, and Konduga during Ramadan, it was unfortunate. This is a time to reflect and keep the month holy. I pray this doesn't happen again. I urge the government to restore peace, because Borno is known as the home of peace. I urge residents to pray for the state and nation, because the government can't do it alone. Security needs to be strengthened more. In an interview with Trust TV, Borno-based security analyst Mustafa Zanna said the attacks are retaliatory following recent military operations that eliminated some insurgent commanders, showing the group still retains operational capability despite years of counterinsurgency efforts.
Why I say it's a kind is that, it dwells more on politics than on the security. You have to address these things first. See how the prodigious number of children roaming the street. They don't have any livelihood and all these things. So these are easy targets for them to recruit. So no matter what happens, they should go for the carrot and stick. When there was need for them to attack the insurgencies, they should attack them. They should not stay. They should not stay aloof to wait for them to make certain things before they should be attacked.
Borno State has remained the epicenter of the Boko Haram insurgency and attacks by the Islamic State West Africa province since 2009. Ngoshe, located in Goza local government area near the Cameroon border, has repeatedly been targeted, with residents often abducted for ransom or forced labor. The recent attacks came after a period of relative calm in some parts of the state. Bitrus Kuruti, Trust TV News, Maiduguri.
For the family of late Abba Shehu, a graduate of the Federal University Gusau, closure remains elusive following his abduction and killing. Authorities have yet to provide any meaningful update on efforts to apprehend the perpetrators. Shehu was kidnapped on January 19th along Gusau-Sokoto Road near a military checkpoint and was reportedly manhandled by his abductors after the family failed to meet ransom demands. Here's more.
This is the house. See how dilapidated is the house. But this is the place where they want 50 million naira to be gathered and be taken to them as ransom. And within just 1 week, that's their higher expectation.
According to his elder brother, the kidnappers initially demanded 10 million naira for Abba Shehu's release. Donations from the public helped the family raise the sum. The adopters subsequently blocked their contact numbers and demanded 3 brand new Honda motorbikes instead.
Now they treated him that way in that viral video because we failed to raise that 50 million naira to them. They say according to them, we had the money, but we refused to give them the money. We like money more than the life of our brother. And that is why they now asked their boys to treat him in that way. And everybody saw the way they treated him in such a very cruel manner.
The family believes that doctors never intended to release Shehu, using the ransom demands as a way to make money. They also suspect the driver of the vehicle from which he was taken may have been complicit in the crime.
We agreed that we should take the money down to them so that they can get the money in their hands. But then their decision is that they are not releasing that boy. They are not releasing him. And that is why when they collected the money, they blocked all our numbers and told us that we have to produce 3 brand new Honda Boko Haram motorcycles to them. The prime suspect behind all this torturing, all this kidnapping and whatever other thing is the driver who drove them from Gusau here to the meeting point because he is associated with them, with the bandits. When he reached the point, he categorically informed everybody in the car that the car is was faulty, and then he has to fix it. In that process, before they know it, they were surrounded and they were all kidnapped. And to our surprise, only him, the driver, managed to escape. Despite several gunshots from about 10 bandits, he claimed that he escaped. And to our greatest surprise, somebody who escaped from banditry attack, could immediately go back to his vehicle, the faulty vehicle, managed to fix the vehicle, and had the courage and confidence and the ability to continue with his journey with empty car to Sokoto. Loaded his car again, came back to Zamfara on the same day, on the same road, back to Zamfara. He did not report to any police authority or any security agency.
The family is also addressing misinformation on social media, clarifying that Abba Shehu had already died in captivity before they conducted a burial in absentia.
I wish to vividly and categorically state it to the world that Abba is not alive. What they are sharing and speculating about are all bunch of lies. So take it from me, I am his blood brother, elder brother. Musa Uthman Abba is no longer alive. Those bandits killed him. And what people are sharing now are nothing but acute lies.
The family is calling on all relevant authorities to act promptly to expedite the process of bringing the killers to book.
Quite a sad one there. Now, the Department of State Services has arrested a suspected commander of the Eastern Security Network and a suspected member of the indigenous people of Biafra over a series of attacks on police stations and killings in Isuzo, local government area of Enugu State. The suspects, identified as Sebastian Odu Odam, said to be a notorious ESN commander, and AGK Daniel, a suspected IPOB member, were apprehended on Friday at Ehamufu and Umuhu communities following months of intelligence gathering. Sources say the suspects confessed to masterminding several attacks on police stations, during which weapons were seized and security personnel killed. The DSS described the arrest as a major breakthrough in the fight against insecurity in the southeast. Residents of Isuzu expressed relief, saying the development could help restore peace to communities hit by repeated attacks. Both suspects remain in DSS custody and are expected to be arraigned in court after investigations. The Nigerian Army has announced that troops under Operation Eastern Sanity rescued 12 kidnapped victims and arrested 2 suspects during a security operation in Ete community, Ibueze, North Local Government area of Enugu State. In a statement on Saturday shared via the Army's official account, the rescue was carried out by troops of the 82 Division Nigerian Army after distress call reported the abduction of several residents in the community. Security operatives immediately mobilized alongside the Nigerian police force, forest guards, and members of the neighborhood watch to the suspected hideout of the kidnappers. The troops conducted aggressive search and fighting patrols across the area, forcing the kidnappers to abandon their captives and flee the scene. All 12 victims were rescued unharmed, while 2 suspects linked to the crime were arrested and are currently being interrogated. Away from security matters, the Kwankwasia political movement in Kano has countered allegations that Deputy Governor Aminu Abdul Salam Gwalezo misappropriated 1.1 billion naira, presenting documents showing the funds were released with Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf's approval. The Kano State House of Assembly had on Thursday said an impeachment notice on Gwalezo over alleged financial misconduct and abuse of office. But records stated between April and June 2024 show the allocation for water and drug supplies across the 44 local government councils was formally requested by Gwalezo and approved by the governor. Kwankwasia leaders insist the documents prove Gwalezo's acted within his official mandate, dismissing the impeachment move as politically motivated. Analysts link the proceedings to political tensions following Governor Yusuf's defection from the NNPP to the APC, while Gwalezo remained in the Kwankwasia fold. The deputy governor has 2 weeks to respond, after which the Assembly may set up an investigative panel under the 1999 Constitution. Violence erupted across parts of Oyo State on Saturday during local government congresses organized by the People's Democratic Party faction loyal to Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. The Wike-led faction clashed amid an ongoing leadership tussle with a faction loyal to Governor Seyi Makinde. About 25 people were reported injured, while properties, including houses and vehicles, were vandalized. Attacks were reported in Ibadan North, Ido, Ibarakwa Central, Akinyele and Ogbomosho North. The residence of former State Governor Barrister Hazim Gwolarumi in Bodija was also attacked, with millions of naira worth of property destroyed. Professor Abdul Rahman Akinosho, chairman of the Wike-led faction, confirmed the violence, saying thugs were moving through local government areas, attacking people and damaging buildings and vehicles. Oyo State Public Police Relations Officer Olayinka Ayonlade said the force is on top of the situation and hoodlums involved in the attacks are being pursued. Former presidential candidate Peter Obi has officially picked up his membership card for the African Democratic Congress. Obi collected his card during the flag-off of the Anambra State ADC registration and mobilization exercise on Saturday, an event attended by party members and supporters from across the state. The move comes amid speculation over his possible return to the Labour Party. Obi, who previously served as governor of Anambra State, has declared his intention to contest the 2027 presidential election. He stated that he would not be intimidated by the large number of governors in the All Progressives Congress and vowed to remain steadfast despite attempts to discourage him from the race. You're still on to News Hour on Trust TV. We'll return from the break. Over in Katsina, residents raised concerns over compensation for agro-allied industrial zone. To stay with us, the news continues. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now, a recap of our top stories. We told you that troops killed 45 bandits in Katsina gone jail. We also told you that over in Oyo State, political thugs attacked PDP local government congresses. Two more stories. Residents of Gukai and Tashler Bala, as well as other communities in Batagarawa and Rimi local government areas of Katsina State, experiencing concern over the compensation offered for houses and farmland affected by the proposed agro-allied industrial zone. Many of the affected residents say the amount paid by the state government is insufficient to rebuild their lives, describing the compensation as inadequate and unfair. They are now appealing to the government to reconsider the payment and review the compensation upward to enable them relocate and begin life anew. Trust TV's Abdullahi Ahmadi reports.
For generations,
The people of Kaukei and Tesharbala have lived and farmed on these lands, cultivating crops and building homes that reflect their heritage and way of life. But today, uncertainty looms as the proposed agro-allied industrial zone project will require residents to leave behind not only their homes, but also the farmlands that sustain their livelihoods. Some of the affected residents say they are not asking for special treatment, but simply what they consider fair compensation. They explain that the payments currently offered may not be enough to secure new homes or farmland elsewhere, especially for families who will have to relocate to entirely different communities. For many of them, starting over means rebuilding homes, finding new farmland, and adjusting to unfamiliar surroundings. A transition, they say, will be extremely difficult without adequate support. We're not against development, but we want fairness. This land is our life, and the compensation should reflect the sacrifices we are being asked to make. I want a situation where everyone can have confidence in the process. We want to have a secure environment. A decision has already been taken, and there is nothing we can do. But we kindly ask that let there be justice, fairness, and other considerations. However, the Katsina State Commissioner for Lands and Physical Planning, Faisal Umar Keita, has called on the affected residents to show understanding. According to him, the government's compensation plan includes a land-for-land arrangement alongside monetary payments as part of a resettlement package. He added that beneficiaries will also receive certified land documents, which will grant them legal ownership and potentially open doors to other opportunities. The commissioner further noted that the development project is expected to bring economic benefits to the area, including job opportunities and other advantages for the affected communities. He also assured that the villagers will be resettled close to their original communities.
The whole idea of the program is, instead of just compensating people with money alone, we thought it would be better to compensate people with funds for farm. So replacing your farmland with another farmland. But on top of that, first of all, if you have 10 hectares, we will give you 15 hectares of land. This is the first this thing we did. And secondly, we give you money based on the size of your land so that you can go and clear the new farmland and, rebuild your livelihood.
Despite these assurances, many residents say they remain hopeful that the government will reconsider their concerns and review the compensation to better reflect the values of the homes and farmlands they are leaving behind. For now, the people of Kaukei and Tisharabala continue to wait, hoping their voices will be heard before final decisions are made. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Governor Obasani has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to expanding access to quality education in Katsina State as he led the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of 102 new schools and the renovation of 170 existing ones across the state. The ceremony, held in Rigasa, highlights the state government's ongoing efforts to reduce the number of out-of-school children and strengthen basic education infrastructure in communities throughout Kaduna. The report.
Governor Sani emphasized that the initiative reflects a deliberate strategy to ensure every child in Katsina State has access to a safe and conducive learning environment. He noted that the project builds on achievements recorded since the beginning of his administration. with 62 new schools constructed in the first year and another 50 added during the second phase of the program.
Today, we performed the groundbreaking for the construction of 102 new schools and the renovation of 170 existing schools and learning centers across our 23 local government areas under the Reaching Out of School Children project.
The governor highlighted improvement delivered through the Katsina State Basic Education Program, stressing the administration's determination to address the persistent issue of out-of-school children.
In the next 1 year, our administration is determined to bring the number of out-of-school children in Katsina State to zero. Our commitment has been matched by resources. We have consistently allocated over 25% of our annual budget to education, surpassing international benchmarks and affirming our belief that education is the most strategic investment in any government can make. The groundbreaking for the commencement of the civil works for the construction of 102 schools and the renovation of 170 under the Reaching Out of School Children project performed by Bahombo State, Senator Osani Sioyen, Governor of the State, and Father Sarah.
The initiative is part of the Reaching Out of School Children project, which aims to significantly reduce the number of children without access to formal education in Kaduna State.
A Greece-based NGO and donor group, Hot the World Hot Doctors, visited Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State to explore potential collaboration in humanitarian and community development initiatives. The visit, held at the Government House in Bauchi, focused primarily on health and education projects. Trust TV's Adamu Imam reports.
Speaking with the governor, the team leader of the delegation, Ellen John, said the visit aimed to identify areas for partnership with the Bauchi state government, particularly in humanitarian and community development programs. She commended the governor for his administration's openness and expressed confidence in establishing a meaningful and impactful collaboration.
They were under the bombarding of Baghdad. We was there. That's why we helped the Iranian people, the Iraqi people. At that time, the Greek people saw us for the very first time. So many people, they would offer money. We said, no, you give us medicine. So a lot of the medicine we are bringing here are donation. They buy the medicine, they give us. But of course, for tropical diseases, we have to buy ourselves. Yeah.
Team leader Heart the World NGO, Helen, assured the governor that the organization looks forward to building a long-term relationship with the state for the benefit of its people. In his response, Governor Bala Mohammed emphasized that collaboration with international development partners is critical to achieving sustainable growth in key sectors of the state economy.
Or enjoying what we have made during our careers, but you chose to come and share with us. 600 patients in most of these primary health centers. I hope where you are going, the primary health centers will be able to working. If they are in good condition, let me know too. Because we worked with the international partners to ensure that we built over 1,000 of them. And we made sure there is some drop the ball being funded. We may not have doctors there, but we have primary health workers, nurses, and midwives, and so on. And I do visit them periodically to make sure that the medicine they're getting is there. And we have a lot of volunteers too. I'm happy that you can even go to our primary centers and do this outreach. We thank you, are ready to partner with you. Please, like Niger that you have mentioned, my younger brother, because
the governor stated that his administration remained committed to credible partnerships that will enhance healthcare delivery, education, women and youth empowerment, and broader social development initiatives. He also reaffirmed the state's commitment to creating an enabling environment for donor agencies to operate effectively and transparently. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
The Federal Ministry of Works has issued a travel advisory to motorists following the planned replacement of damaged expansion joints on Dikara Bridge along the outbound Lagos axis. In a statement signed by the Federal Controller of Works in Ogun State, Olayiwola Komolafe, the ministry said the repair work will begin on Tuesday, March 10, and is expected to last for 2 weeks, ending on March 24th. To reduce traffic congestion during the period, motorists have been advised to use alternative routes. Drivers traveling from Ikorodu towards Mowe, Shagamu, and Ibadan are encouraged to pass through Shimawa or Mosimi. Similarly, motorists departing from Lagos Island may travel through the Ekpe corridor via Ijebu-Ode to connect to Shagamu, Ibadan, and Mowe. The ministry urged road users to plan their trips carefully, obey traffic management instructions, and drive cautiously around the construction zone, assuring that the repair is necessary to improve road safety and infrastructure durability. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has cautioned against the blanket ban on single-use plastics in Nigeria, warning that a poorly planned policy could disrupt livelihoods and industries that rely heavily on plastic metals and materials. Now, Abbas gave the warning in Abuja while declaring open a public hearing organized by the House Ad Hoc Committee on Preparedness for a Single-Use Plastic Ban at the National Assembly Complex. Represented by the Deputy Whip, Isiaka Ibrahim, the Speaker said while Nigeria must address the growing problem of plastic pollution, the transition away from single-use plastics must be carefully managed to balance environmental protection with economic realities. Earlier, Chairman of the committee, Teresia Umo, said the panel is working on a legislative framework that will address environmental concerns while also considering the economic implications of phasing out plastics.
Our mandate as representatives of the Nigerian people is clear: to enact laws that protect lives, property, rights, general well-being and environmental safety while fostering sustainable economic growth. The pervasive threat of plastic pollution directly threatens these fundamental responsibilities. Fellow Nigerians, the statistics are grim and undeniable.
I urge you to share data on breakthrough innovations into new packaging materials and best approaches to implement the proposed extended producer responsibility model that ensures everybody contributes their quota to cleaning up our plastic pollution, especially the petrochemical companies who supply the polypropylene used in plastic production in Nigeria.
Representative of the Standards Organization of Nigeria, Paul Clement, supported a phased stoppage rather than an outright ban, citing possible effects on manufacturing industries. Meanwhile, the Federal Ministry of Environment called for the introduction of cheaper and more environmentally friendly alternatives to plastic materials.
In terms of environment, this constitutes a sort of clog in the drainage. And so, outright ban is not what we support. We support a sort of a face banning of this product, because as an agency that is coming from the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, we encourage the growth of industry. So, and there are a lot of, it cuts across so many value chains. Those that actually pick these things, those that recycle, because they recycle into flakes, which is used to produce another plastics. So, and as such, we would rather encourage circular economy, because that is what we've been preaching. Circular economy is the way to go, rather than outright banning of the whole thing.
The alternatives to certain SUPs, which if you hear me say SUPs, I'm sure you all know is single-use plastics are already available locally and internationally, and they include cotton or woven cloth materials, paper bags, reusable fabric cutlery containers, as well as glass and stainless steel bottles and containers. For some low-value items, such as single-use thin film bags, straws, stirrers, there are low-cost alternatives that exist, which are compostable plastics and certified compostable packaging that are growing globally.
Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, says Nigeria must harness the immense potential of women-led enterprises to strengthen industrialization and expand the country's participation in African trade. Oduwole said Nigeria is positioning itself to lead intra-African trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area by unlocking the productive capacity of women entrepreneurs and improving their access to finance, markets, and other economic opportunities. The minister spoke at a colloquium on women's role in industry, trade and investment held at the National Assembly Library in Abuja, where stakeholders also signed a memorandum of understanding to advance the implementation of the AFCFTA protocols.
Today's colloquium reflects Nigeria's commitment to implementing this protocol and to ensuring that the continental market being built under AFCFTA is one in which businesses led by both women and men are able to grow, compete, and scale. Nigeria's comprehensive economic reforms under the Renewed Hope agenda are laying the foundation for capital to flow and trade to thrive, reflected in $21 billion in capital importation in the first 10 months of 2025, and non-oil exports exceeding $6.1 billion. At the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, we are complementing continental integration with deliberate bilateral and global economic partnerships.
We are currently working on a tripartite collaboration between the federal government, the Bank of Industry, and a recognized private sector investment manager with proven multi-country track record in deploying over $150 million across priority sectors and supporting portfolio companies.
On to News Hour and Trust. When we return from the news, from the break rather, business, foreign and sports. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Let's get to business. Central Bank of Nigeria says 30 banks have met the new minimum capital requirements ahead of the March 31, 2026 recapitalization deadline. The Apex Bank spokesperson, Hakama Elisidi, disclosed this in an update on the progress of the program. According to the bank, a total of 33 financial institutions have raised additional funds through rights issues, initial public offerings, and private placements as part of the recapitalization exercise. However, 3 banks are yet to fully meet the requirement, with the capital positions currently undergoing routine verification before final confirmation of compliance within the timeline. The CBN says the recapitalization program is progressing steadily and that it will continue close supervisory engagement with banks to ensure full compliance with prudential and capital requirements. The new capital framework was introduced in March 2024 with a March 31st deadline set for all banks to meet the revised thresholds. Crude oil prices have surged to a 2-year high, with Brent crude trading around $93 per barrel and West Texas Intermediate at $91, following warnings from Qatar's Energy Minister Saad Al-Kaabi that Middle East oil and gas exporters could halt production within days. Al-Kaabi said the escalating conflict in the region could bring down the economies of the world and push crude prices as high as $150 per barrel. The tensions follow United States and Israeli strikes on Iran on February 28, which killed Iranian leaders, including Ayatollah al-Khamenei, prompting retaliatory attacks by Tehran across the Gulf. Iran's actions have disrupted key oil facilities, including Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura refinery and Qatar energy installations, causing temporary shutdowns amid and contributing to rising fuel prices. In Nigeria, the conflict led Dangote refinery to increase petrol prices, sparking a nationwide fuel hike. And foreign thing over in East Africa, at least 23 people have been killed in flash flooding in Nairobi. Police say on Saturday as search and rescue operations continue amid widespread devastation. Torrential rains lashed the Kenyan capital late Friday, turning major streets into rivers and flooding thousands of homes and businesses. Rescue teams were still pulling out bodies and rescuing trapped residents, while AFP reporters saw heavily damaged roads and infrastructure from the city's vast slums to upmarket areas like Parklands. Derek Juma, a panel beater in the same area, said 2 of his neighbors had died. Police say they had rescued at least 39 people overnight and remained fully deployed, actively responding to distress calls and continuing with search and rescue missions as more rain started to fall late Saturday. President William Ruto ordered the deployment of an emergency response team to coordinate rescue efforts amid widespread anger at Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, who had pledged to fix drainage and road infrastructure since 2022. Neighboring countries, including Somalia and Ethiopia, are also affected. Kenya Airways diverted flights to Mombasa, and the Kenyan Red Cross reported hundreds of households and vast farmlands in neighboring counties damaged. Guinea has dissolved 40 political parties, including its three main opposition groups, in a late-night decree just weeks after former junta leader Mamadi Doumbouya was sworn in as president. The Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization ordered the move, citing failure to fulfill their obligations and strip the parties of control over their assets. Among those affected are the UFDG led by Telo Delien Diallo, the RPG led by former President Alpha Conde, and the UFR. The decree bans all political activities for these parties and bars them from using their acronyms, logos, and symbols. Their assets have been placed under sequestration, with a curator appointed to oversee them. Since coming to power in 2021, Doumbouya has cracked down on civil liberties, banned protests, and targeted political opponents through arrests, trials, and enforced disappearances, consolidating his grip on power in Guinea. And it's time for sports with Adini Ajishafe.
Singida Black Stars Sports Club of Tanzania has cleared Super Eagles goalkeeper Amos Obasugi of any involvement in match-fixing allegations following investigation conducted by the club. Singida Black Stars, in a statement signed by its Chief Executive Officer, Jonathan Cassano, on 7th March 2026, after concerns were raised by fans, management and football stakeholders over a series of mistakes in recent matches involving the goalkeeper. The club disciplinary committee initiated a preliminary investigation after incidents sparked suspicion among supporters and observers. However, following a review of the situation, including the players' defense and clarification from the club general manager, the club concluded that there was no evidence of match manipulation or deliberate poor play from Amos Obasugi, as incidents raised have been determined to be technical errors within the game. The club statement said, as a result of the findings, Singida Black Star Club has reversed its earlier decision to suspend Obasugi for 3 months, allowing the goalkeeper to resume his duties with the team. The club disclosed that Obasugi apologized for the circumstances that led to the misunderstanding and pledged to improve his performance in order to regain the confidence of fans and stakeholders. Development follows earlier intervention by Director General Nigerian Institute of Sport, Philip Shaibu, who had written the Tanzanian club, cautioning against making allegations against the Nigerian goalkeeper without proper investigation. With the investigation concluded and the suspension lifted, goalkeeper Amos Obasugi is expected to return to action as Singida Black SC continue its domestic and continental campaigns. The development comes as a major relief to the Super Eagles shortstopper, whose reputation had come under scrutiny after the initial suspension sparked widespread reactions within football community. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
Before we go, here's a kicker. In Lusaka University, engineering students are increasingly harnessing artificial intelligence to power their locally developed inventions. As the Zambian government works to position the country as a regional leader in technology and innovation. A growing ecosystem is emerging to support young developers building tech-driven solutions for Zambia and beyond. Take a look.
20-year-old software engineering student Innocent Mugwandi stands before his classmates at the Information and Communication University presenting a slideshow of his latest innovation. Currently in his second year, Mugwandi says his passion for programming began early, teaching himself to build games and systems still while in grade 9. His invention, called Tensor, is a platform designed to explain the mathematical operations behind nuclear networks. The system targets students, researchers, and machine learning engineers, helping them better understand the mathematics that powers artificial intelligence.
The role of AI in my project, one of the features that I have in this project is where you have a mathematical operation, then AI is able to help you understand it by explaining it in a more human-readable format. So the best way I can explain it is using a mathematical function, then AI is able to explain it in regular English.
And Child Health Services believes Zambia's innovation ecosystem is helping reshape by young developers. He points to growing institutional and government support as a sign that Zambia is steadily building momentum towards becoming a regional innovation leader.
AI is here to stay and we need to embrace it. We need to encourage it in universities. I'm challenging all the universities in Zambia. They should be coming from the universities. Let's be innovative. We are not going to wait for Western countries to come and develop AI tools, to develop, all these innovations that we need to lessen on the pressure to help us develop.
Another young innovator is 24-year-old Enoch Chisolu, a fourth-year electrical engineering student at the University of Zambia. As a child, he experimented with wires instead of toys, fascinated by how things worked.
So that to me is like a challenge. After I built something, we invented the entire system where you don't have to physically go there. You can just go on our platform on Motive, you buy all the things that you need, you go to checkout, and then you purchase, you forget, and we deliver to you to your doorstep. Yeah. And then additionally, now that we're in this age, we even have better tools. So we're using natural language processing on the same platform.
Platforms like Motive and Tensor reflect Zambia's broader digital transformation agenda, and AI are recognized as critical drivers of economic growth. This youth-led, locally built solutions sits at the heart of Zambia's ambition to build a sustainable, innovation-driven economy.
And that's it for News Hour tonight on Trust TV. For more of our news programs, documentaries, to follow our social media platforms and our YouTube live stream. On behalf of the news production team, thank you for joining us tonight. I am Chiamaka Nwafo. Good night.